Your four favorites are Martyrs, Possession, eXistenZ, and Angel's Egg. Martyrs is considered part of the new French extremity movement, and Possession and eXistenZ can both be classified as body horror to some degree. So I feel like there's a lot of violent or grotesque imagery in your favorites. And Martyrs and Possession both explore themes related to faith as well as gender and power dynamics. Angel's Egg also explores themes related to faith. And eXistenZ and Angel's Egg can both be considered science fiction, and they both play with our perception of reality. The first movie that came to mind when I looked at your favorites was Audition, which seems so up your alley that I was surprised you didn't have it marked as watched. It's got violence and torture, it involves gender and power dynamics, and it plays with our perception of reality. But another one of my top choices for you is On the Silver Globe. I've recommended this movie to people with Angel's Egg in their favorites and vice versa, because both movies have this surreal, apocalyptic, or dystopian setting that feels very isolated, and both movies feel like an abstract, dreamlike meditation on faith and religion. And I'd especially recommend it to you because it's also from the director of Possession. Mad God is an animated film like Angel's Egg, a horror film like Martyrs and Possession, and like eXistenZ, it's a sci-fi film. And I don't know if you can really consider an animated film to be body horror, but this movie definitely has some body horror elements to it. The Holy Mountain, like Angel's Egg, is an experimental, surreal film where a character is going on a journey that feels kind of abstract and allegorical, and it delves into some metaphysical and religious themes like Martyrs, Possession, and Angel's Egg. It also has some bizarre, nightmarish, or grotesque imagery like Martyrs, Possession, and eXistenZ. Akira is a post-apocalyptic anime film like Angel's Egg, science fiction like eXistenZ. And honestly, there are quite a few connections I can make to your favorites, but I'm trying to be vague to avoid spoilers, so I guess you'll just have to trust me on this one. Actually, there are a lot of movies I want to recommend that I think make perfect sense, but a lot of the connections I'd make are spoilers. For example, the 2015 film Tag, I think this movie is perfect for you, and I can connect it to more than one movie in your favorites, but if I elaborate, then I run the risk of spoiling something. So I apologize in advance if I'm super vague in this video. Belladonna of Sadness is an anime film like Angel's Egg, and the animation style actually reminds me a lot of Angel's Egg, even though this one is much more psychedelic. But it also tackles a lot of the themes that are in Martyrs and Possession. In the Mouth of Madness is a horror film like most of your favorites, and it blurs the line between fiction and reality in a way that sort of reminds me of the virtual reality games in eXistenZ. And like Possession, it stars Sam Neill. Kuroneko, like Angel's Egg, is a Japanese film with a dark, almost otherworldly atmosphere. And like Martyrs, it depicts female suffering and revenge, and there's a supernatural element to it like Possession. I feel like there are so many layers to Martyrs, but if you like the home invasion, torture aspect of the story, then you should check out Funny Games, The People Under the Stairs, and Death Game. If you prefer the revenge aspect of Martyrs, then you should check out Ms. 45 and I Saw the Devil. If you like Martyrs for the religious and metaphysical ideas it explores, then you might enjoy The Seventh Victim and Heretic. I actually thought of this one a lot when I was watching Martyrs. And if you like Martyrs because you're just a fan of the new French extremity movement, then I think you might like High Tension or Trouble Every Day. I don't know if this is weird, but I tend to associate Possession with scenes from a marriage, but you've already seen that one. So another Bergman movie I want to recommend is Hour of the Wolf, because like Possession, it's a psychological horror film that depicts both psychological and marital breakdowns. Angel's Egg almost feels like an animated Tarkovsky film, and I'm pretty sure the director cited Tarkovsky as an influence. And I know you liked Stalker, Solaris, and Mirror, but I think The Sacrifice is the one that aligns most with your favorites, and you didn't have that one marked as watched. In terms of style and tone, I feel like Mind Game and Angel's Egg couldn't be more different, but at the same time, both movies are experimental anime films that explore existential, metaphysical, and religious themes, so I think there's a chance you might like this one.